A very good morning to all the participants, those who have joined to witness today's 10th national webinar organized by Bengal Law College Shantiniketan. As we all know, today our Honorable Resource Person, Dr. Sweta Mohan, will enlighten us on today's topic, interface between COVID crisis and worldwide economic depression. So before we jump into the main part of the session, I will request our Honorable TIC Ma'am, Mrs. Anindita Sarkar Datta, to deliver her welcome speech by addressing the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, Dilchukti, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. I, on behalf of the entire college team and my academic team, and from behalf of all the participants, I welcome you to this webinar. I really feel very honored to introduce Dr. Sweta Mohan in this webinar. Ma'am, your career graph itself speaks that you are the most suitable person to justify the topic of today's webinar. Dr. Sweta Mohan has completed her MA from Patna University and awarded with PhD degree from Chanakya National University in the year 2010. She is the author of a number of articles, chapters, and also books. She has conducted project work and simultaneously occupies membership in academic council, board of research, course coordinator, executive editor of her own university, and a member of board of studies of Amity Law University, Ranchi in 2019-20 session. She was the acting vice chancellor of NUSRL Ranchi between September 2013 and 14. To welcome such a scholastic person in our academic platform is really an occasion of honor and privilege. So welcome you again, ma'am. Welcome to our webinar. We are really eagerly waiting for your speech on this topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Apart from that, I am grateful to Bengal Law College Shantiniketan for providing me the opportunity to just discuss before this August gathering what exactly is going on into the entire economy. I know all of us are not from an economic background, but my effort in this discussion would be to just make things clear. What is the interface between COVID-19 and economic recession? One more thing, I'll just give in points whether it is a recession or depression. This is also a matter of debate because we seldom use simultaneously recession and depression. But to begin with, a small history, we are a part of it. We know that, yes, during January 2020, when Corona, it had started its journey to Wuhan, China, it was merely a virus. But it has established its empire, halting the entire economies of the world. Now, what is the interface? When we talk about interface, we are trying to know what exactly is the link between COVID-19 and economic crisis. Why are we so stressed? What is the reason we are thinking about our country, our state, our nation, or a worldwide economy? What's going on that we are not feeling good or we are so stressed? What's the reason behind? The reason is that there is a direct link between the virus that has entered the atmosphere and the economic activity that we perform daily. Now, when I'm talking about this, there is a debate going on in the entire world to name this crisis. What should be the crisis name as? For example, when we talk about IMF, the IMF says that it is a great lockdown crisis. I'll just discuss the reason behind step by step. And when we'll talk about Morgan Stanley, one of the biggest institution which rates the country, it says that it is great coronavirus crisis. And others, they are terming them as pandecession, pandemic and recession. So why they're all trying to add coronavirus pandemic to the economic activity? What's the reason? So I know many of you, we know very well that whatever economic activity we perform, there needs a certain economic factors of productions. Now, those factors of productions are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Very frankly, whether we are an institution, a university, or college, there also we need land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Land, I'll just give you an example. Land, because why? We need to establish an institution, a college, a university, where there would be an administrative building where the classes would go on. Labors, when I'm talking about labors, I'm talking about skilled labors as well as unskilled labors. All of us here are skilled labors. Why? Because we have a skill to perform the duty of a teacher, as well as in the college or university we also have unskilled laborers who are performing their duties. Say for example, a person who is taking caretaker, a person who is taking care of housekeeping, all these things, they're all labors, and we are also laborers who are performing our best of duties to add into the economic activity. Capital. Now here, if I discuss in core economic term capital, then I would mean that entire infrastructure of the university, whether the university is having appropriate classrooms, whether the university has having a computer lab, or whether the university is having a cafeteria, the roads of the university, all these things, they are the infrastructure. And how we are going to promote the infrastructure? Obviously, we need money in simple terms. So from where the money would come? Again, a question. Then the fourth factor of production is entrepreneur. Who is going to invest in the university? I'm only giving an example, very small example or of a university or college. Now, who are the people who would be giving the money to the university or college to cope up with the day-to-day expenses? Here is, they are the entrepreneur. It might be a state government, it might be somebody else, or some foundation who is really willing to give what you call the money to just propel the economic activity of the colleges or university. Fine. Here we were talking about factors: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Now, there is another thing related to it. If I am employing land, and if I am employing labor, if I am using capital, and if also using entrepreneur, we need to repay them, isn't it? If I'm using a land for the construction of college or university, then I need to pay the landowner, whether I have taken it for rent, I'll be giving him rent, or if I bought the land, I will be giving the entire money. And if there is a labor required and its labor is there in the university, we need to pay them wages and salaries. And again, if I'm talking about infrastructure, then capital, then the capital needs to be given the profit, and entrepreneurs, they also need their share of profit. So it's one way give and take. It's not free. Nothing is free on this earth, and particularly when we are talking about economic activity. Now the question comes in, why we are trying to get a connect between COVID and the economic activity. What's the reason? Just see to it. During the March 25th, the government came up with the lockdown, and immediately with the lockdown, all the economic activities, they were at standstill, whether it was primary sector, whether it was secondary sector, or whether it was tertiary sector. Now also explain how all the factors of production, they are related to primary, tertiary, and secondary. So what happened? Immediately the government, when it came up with its direction notification, then that the Indian government has decided to go for a lockdown. Reason by all the economic activity with the one notification, they were at pause. Productivity was at pause. And the major question related to it was labor, skilled and unskilled labor. You must have gone through all these days watching newspapers and TV. You must have seen the plight of the laborers. And when we talk about our economy, Indian economy, you see, we are basically an agrarian economy where 90% of your economy is from informal sector. And recently, while preparing for this seminar, I went to the website of the Niti Aayog, where I found that right now the value added GDP to our country from agriculture is 15.4%. Fine. And from secondary sector, it is 29.7. And from service sector, it is 54.4%. Just see, the agriculture is giving 15%. And interestingly, when we compare this agriculture sector to the worldwide agriculture contribution, India is far ahead. But when it comes to its own country, we are far, far behind from reaching the economic growth. Uh, it's also clear that all the rating agencies, IMF, World Bank, they all have said, even the government has come up with that during the year 2020 and 21, the GDP would be between 3.5 percentage. That is very below. It's below than the Hindu growth rate. So this halt in the economic activity is creating a kind of depression, is creating a kind of recession, and therefore it is spreading through the countries. Now, again, I'll try to explain. I was trying to explain that all the factors of production, they contribute to primary sector, that is agriculture and allied sectors. Then secondary sector, that is manufacturing sector. सब में लैंड लेबर कैपिटल सब लगेंगे, उनके बिना प्रोडक्शन नहीं हो सकता है. Whether they are skilled labor or unskilled labor, labor is a must for economic productivity. Similarly, land is must for economic productivity. Similarly, capital and entrepreneur, we cannot do without it to produce an output. Therefore, in the same manner, manufacturing sectors also required all these four factors of production, and tertiary sector as well, it requires all the factors of production. Now, when with the notification of this deadly virus that it is going to spread and it will cause raise health issues, and it will also leave behind fatal incidences, it was decided that our country, it should go for a lockdown. It was not India alone that went for lockdown process. The entire nation of the world, they have been focusing on the same prescribed manner that the lockdown would be the best measure to just confine the virus to a particular section or sector. If people, they go on for all this regular economic activity, what would happen? Similarly, people would come to contact with each other, and what would happen? The virus would spread more rigorously in the entire world or economy. And what would happen? We would see that yes, we are facing health problem. It's a deadly virus. Fine. So this is it. Now, the question is the interface. What is the interface? The interface is that if the economic activities are at the standstill, the entire macroeconomic variable would be disturbed. By macroeconomic variable, I mean to say that your income would be affected, employment would be affected, inflation rate would be affected, balance of payment would be affected, and obviously the living standard would be affected. Living standard would be affected, then ultimately it would lead to the purchasing power of the people. Other way around, I'll explain it very simple manner. We have come across various news that people, companies, they are laying off workers, they are reducing the salaries to the employed person. Why it is happening? Have you ever thought of this? Please just start blaming that yes, the companies, the institutions, they are not paying the wages and salary, they are laying off workers. What is the reason? The reason is we are still a growing, a developing nation. What we require is we have taken all the facilities from other institutions. Say for example, if a small company it started business and it has taken a loan from bank, it needs to repay. From where it will repay? Being a member of that institution, whatever the payment and receipt is coming from, that needs to be in balance. If there is no receipt for the company, from where the company will pay salaries to its worker? This is the main problem. And here in India there are very small sector business, they have already taken loan, they do not have enough of liquidity, that is money, to repay to their workers, to repay to the uh, persons who are employed in their companies or small sectors, firm or businesses. So this is the factor. There is a crunch of liquidity in the economy. That means nowadays we are having less of money because we are not performing. There is no output in the economy, only essential commodities they are being produced. If the essential commodities are being produced, we will only use that. Say for example, I'll say, if things would have been all very normal, we would have been to malls, we would have all been to amusement park, we would all have been to tourism places. And if we are going to malls, if you are going to amusement parks, if you are going to tourism tourist places, what we do, we are simply trying to have transaction. That is, I book my ticket, flight ticket, I'm going to a particular place. From there, I'm taking an Ola, I'm going to my booked respective hotel. There, I'm using the hotel and I'm getting all sort of fooding, lodging, and other facility. If I'm using all those things, I'm making a repayment, isn't it? Once the repayment is coming, the hotel business, they are paying their laborers the salaries and wages. Right now, everything is closed. So from where the money would come, and from where the informal sector employed person would get money? This is the major problem. The all the factors of production, they have come to a standstill, a halt, and all these factors of production, they are adding to day purchasing power of our lives. As I had given you example, had it been a simple routine lifestyle, we would have been to amusement parks, we would have been to a place there where we wanted to go for a holiday, and there, by using the malls, amusement parks and hotels, we would be making repayment money, paying back, and this money would have been gone to the workers employed in all these malls, the amusement parks and the hotels. So what we see, that there is a transaction of money, circulation of money. Money from my hand is going to, if I'm going to buy a ticket to the railways or to the airline sector, the airline sector is going to buy the basic requirement, say for example the fuel. So it would pay back to the fuel, and there, from there, they would, the fuel companies, they would pay again to their labors. So there is a chain of this money moving from one hand to another hand. And this chain, it has been temporarily uh, at a pause. Now, this pause has created a kind of depression in the economy. Not exactly recession, but depression. Now, just go to explain what exactly is depression and recession. We all know very well that in 1930s, uh, it was a Great Depression. Fine. And the Great Depression was in US, UK, Germany, and France. What was the reason that we had coined 1930s as the Great Depression? The reason was the n number of reason. The reason was the stock companies, they had failed. The reason was USA went for Smooth and Howlett tariff act. The reason was there was overproduction in the economy. The reason was nobody at that point of time thought that there would a concept come named as hyperinflation. Right now we are only talking about inflation, but that time 1930s it was hyperinflation, that the value of the money goes so much down that it is really impossible to buy a, a piece of bread. Say for example, if you will go through the documentaries and movies, you'll see all black and white pictures where people are standing in queue with buckets of these dollars, and they're only standing in queue to get a small piece of bread. That was the phenomena, that is hyperinflation. So at that point of time, President Roosevelt, he was very worried what went wrong to his uh, capitalist economy. What was the reason that all the big nation, they came to a standstill? They found out a person named John Maynard Keynes, Keynesian economics, macroeconomics, if you must have heard about it. He was the person, a British economist, who just explained the idea that there was this overproduction in the economy. There was no role of government to regulate the economy. There was no idea of macroeconomics, that is the aggregate economy, the functioning of economy. Therefore, the entire nation of the world, they had witnessed such a phenomena. That was the Great Depression. Now, here we are talking about the global depression. What is going on wrong? What's wrong with the economies? We very well know that India was in the pace of slowdown before this COVID crisis. We were in the slowdown, and all the economies, they were also going through a recession. A recession is a phenomena where you see that there is underproductivity of output and employment. That means there is less of productivity, there is less of employment. If there is less of productivity and less of employment, it means that there would be less of income generation. If there is less of income generation, what would happen? People will have less money as income. If they're having less money to their income, that means they are having less cash in hand. Daily we need some cash. We have daily transaction. It's not that if I'm going to buy a bread, I need to swap my card. We need some changes. Daily transaction. And our economy, India's economy, is virtually working on the daily transaction. So if all these things, the productivity, the income, the output, they are slowed down, what would happen? It would directly affect our purchasing power. Purchasing power is I'm willing and I have a capacity to buy things. Say for example, I want to buy a kg of apples, a pair of shoes. So I need to have money and I'm also willing to buy. But here, right now, what is happening during this pandemic, that people are speculating things. They are speculating, they are being precautionary that the salaries, they have been slashed down. There is no economic activity. There is no employment generation program. So better not to spend. Keep the money with yourself. and only use the money for very important or essential things. So what it has created a slash, it has decreased the demand in the economy. We demand things, we demand goods, we demand commodities, then there is supply in the economy. If we do not demand anything, why would a supplier produce things to sell in the economy? I want to buy a car, therefore the Tata Motors is making a car, isn't it? If the people in the economy, they are not willing to buy cars, what would happen to Tata Motors company? It would stop its production for a while, because it is not having enough of money to pay back to the labors that are employed in the company itself. See, technical, skilled, unskilled labor, they're all employed in the companies and firms. Whether they're Microsoft, or whether you are talking about a small firm in our city, they all need skilled as well as skilled labor. And if I am employing the labor of a person, I need to pay back, whether it is a form of wages or salary. From where the wages and salary is coming, if my product is being sold in the economy. But here, due to this pandemic, what has happened, the entire economy has come to a standstill. There is no production. We have come to know that initially in the March and April, that all the automobile sectors, they had stopped production. Reason was very clear, because if they were using their labors, they had to pay them. And the government said, stop. Why? Because health is a prime concern. If we are alive, we can go for a more of production, or we can go further. But yes, here in our country, what happened, this lockdown, it created more of a problem to those casual laborers who were working as migrant laborers in different states, because they never thought that something like lockdown would come and they would have to leave their places and they have to migrate to their own states. And what happened to the state, they, taking the precautionary measure, they had barricaded to their borders to stop the laborers entering their own state. Reason being that they would come along with virus and they would infect other people. It is such a state that we are in a puzzle. What is the best option to revive the economy? What is going wrong? When we compare it to developed nation, if you take example of US, Germany and South Korea, you'll see that the planning institution, they have given the sole authority to the center, the resources, and then the provinces or states, they make their agenda, they make their memorandum, and they work on that. Here we are facing some problem if we compare it, because we here are discussing about the interface, how India is connected to US, how India is connected to China, and how other countries are connected to our country. The connection is same: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Those students or those IT professionals who are working in US, they're also facing problem. Why? Because Donald Trump, he has come up with various H1B1 visas policies, and they are not sure. The Trump government is trying in US to promote their own people rather than promoting those who have come across their country. Fine. So this is the link, that US government has capital, but US government does not have labor. So what is happening? More of the laborers, skilled laborers I'm talking about, particularly engineers, doctors, professionals, who join various big companies and work as professional in US, UK, anywhere. And here in India, what happens? We are labor intensive country. We have more of labor. You must be knowing that India is one of the country with the more number of youngest population in the world. And therefore, IMF, World Bank, all these institutions, they are looking forward to India, what policy description or policy matters India is going to take to add on to the economic productivity of the world, not only to its own country, but to world, because more a number of young people are there. Fine. So the connection, the interface between the country is that all the countries, they do not have all the factors of production in abundance, factor of endowment. This is very limited. So what happens? We have started with the concept of international trade. With this international trade, we are trying to have access to all the goods and services which my country is not able to produce. I can get it from other country at a less, or you may say cheaper rate. Fine. Why India exports more of food grains and spices? Reason being, India is best suited with its geographical condition and whatever is the climatic condition to export more of vegetables, fruits, spices. Other countries, say for example Germany and US, or you may say China, they are dealing with what? Technology. China is dealing with manufacturing. Why China is the fastest growing economy? Reason being, China is trying to manufacture goods and services at a very low rate, cheap rate. And therefore, when it's producing an abundance of manufactured goods, it is selling to the other countries. And these countries, we are also using it. We are using their product. Though we say we'll buy a Chinese product. Why? We know it's very cheap. We also know that it's not a durable. It's not going to last for a long time. But our mentality, our rational thinking is that it is cheap for a time being. I can use the Chinese product. But remember, at the same time, we are destructing our own domestic market. Why? We are allowing other country to sell their products in our country, and we are not allowing our domestic land, labor, and capital to produce the goods and being sold. Uh, they last year we were trying last year also that during this, this puja is approaching, all the festive seasons they are approaching. So what needs to be done? More of goods and commodities, right from the mats to the lights to all n number of accessories that China is producing, we were buying it. So what the government came up with the idea that do not use Chinese product. Kindly use the earthen diyas to celebrate your festival. Reason was very clear. Reason was that we are going to promote our land, labor, and capital. We are going to promote the economic activity of our own people, the countrymen, so that there is an opportunity and optimism that my economy is functioning. Now, here I'll stop and I'll again go back to what exactly is recession and depression. Yes, here we are talking about the interface between the countries, how countries are related to each other. They are related to each other because they have the international trade with each other. They are having trade and exchange. If we are having trade, if we are exporting things, we are getting dollars. And if we are importing things, we are paying in dollars. We cannot produce oil
Therefore, we are dependent on OECD and oil producing countries for the petroleum product. Whatever is the hike in the petroleum product, we are paying it, and we say that the inflation rate has gone up. Similarly, when this pandemic it hit hard to China, what happened? The countries, in a wake of awareness, they said that we are not going to have trade with China right now. So, whatever goods and commodities it was coming to India, it was stopped. It was stopped. Therefore, there was shortage of supply in the market, shortage of any goods and services that we were demanding in the country. There was a shortage, and if there was shortage, due to the shortage, whosoever had the supply of the commodities, they tried to escalate the price. That means they tried to inflate the price, increase the prices. So increase the prices, we were facing problem. There was a standstill, we were not working, there was no money in our hand. And similarly, simultaneously, what happened that the prices of the goods and commodities, they were going very, very high. So it created a kind of depression in the economies. It's not a story of India, it's the story of the entire world, where people are facing problem, purchasing power, retrenchment of the workers, lay off the workers, shutting down institution, because there is no money. There is no circulation of money in the entire economy. This is the problem. So what happens? It started creating a kind of depression. Depression is a situation where all the economic activities, they are stopped. In recession, it is very low. The productivity is low, the output is low, the employment is low. But in depression, the productivity is at standstill, pause, रुक गया है सब कुछ. Then what happens if there is no output? मतलब no laborers would be employed. If laborers are not employed, that means skilled and unskilled. See, here I'm mentioning both skilled and unskilled. If laborers are not employed, that means we are not getting wages, we are not getting salaries. So that means we do not have money in our hand, cash amount, which further implies that I cannot buy goods and services. Which further implies that those who are trying to produce, they are not in a mood to produce. Why? Because they'll say कि बाजार में तो लोग डिमांड ही नहीं कर रहे, तो मैं क्यों बनाऊं? If I'm producing say for example, if I'm making pens, if I'm preparing a pen or making a pen, manufacturing a pen, I have employed all the factors of production. And to produce that final pen, which should be going to the market, nobody is demanding. So why a supplier would produce a pen? Because he has to give money to the land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. He will not do though. Just think about it. It's a vicious circle. Now, here in the economies, what is happening? People are depressed. Countries are depressed because the countries, in order to avoid the pandemic, they have stopped the aviation. It is very limited, isn't it? So whatever the freight was coming in the form of raw materials or in the form of what you say finished goods or product, they have been stopped. Once there is stopped in the production, once there is a bottleneck to the supply side, what would happen? The prices would escalate. कुछ बाजार में मिल नहीं रहा है और जिनके पास है जो वो बेच सकते हैं, वो क्या करें? वो प्राइसेस को और ज्यादा बढ़ा रहे हैं. So what is happening? We are depressed. Now, this depression is worldwide. All the countries they are facing, because all the countries, they are all connected in terms of trade and policies. What policies we are going to take in order to promote the economic activity? There are so many things simultaneously going on. Right now, US China trade war is an other important factor which is taking a toll. Right now, at the borders, our tension with the China is another problem. See, there are so many strategic things that all related, and all these things are simply related to the economic activity. How are we going to produce? How are we going to survive? If we do not have money, what will we do? This is the major concern. And how the country would take law, policy, politics to formulate so that we cope up with this pandemic. Here in recession, these things are very at a very slow pace, low level. And recession, see, there is a major difference between recession and depression. That is, recession is localized and depression is global phenomena. That is what the college it shows interface global economic recession. What's the reason? We are all connected. Though you are sitting in West Bengal and I am sitting in Jharkhand, we are all connected at one platform, and we are discussing it, that this pandemic has ruined the what you say, the effect of the pandemic is very long and very deep. It is having a catastrophic effect on the entire economy. It's not only India, it's not about US, it's not about Korea. All the countries, they are facing the same problem. And it's not the end. Post pandemic also will see the same problem. There would be excess of supply of labors, because many of the firms, institution, they would have stopped the production. So what, again a problem would be excess supply. How we will reach to that optimum level? How are we going to produce more of output? And how are we going to produce more of employment? See, the fundamental of any subject is to have efficiency, attain efficiency. If you're a law student, you'll say the law should be efficient enough, isn't it? So what is the criteria of efficiency? And if I'm talking about efficiency economics, I would say optimum, maximum that I could get. Simple person would say, if I'm getting a salary, that should be efficient, maximum satisfaction I should get from. And here what has happened since last 4 or 5 months, that all this regular or fast moving things, they have come to a pause, they have come to a standstill, and they have created a jerk in the entire economic activity, and therefore we are facing problem. Now what needs to be done? I think this was how I tried to explain the interface. Factors of production: primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, then total output and total employment generation in the economy. If India is producing, India needs to export so that it gets uh, forex, foreign exchange. Why? Because we need to pay the forex in buying petroleum, we need to pay the forex in buying Rafale. We need to be secure. All these things needs to be paid in, they're not going to take Indian rupee, they are going to take dollars. So there needs to be exchange. So the best thing to exchange is that we should have international trade. And it is one of the, what you say, very known famous quote, that trade is an engine of growth. If we trade with other countries, we are going to have more of growth and development. But here, deadly virus suddenly appearing into the country has destroyed all the economic activity, has brought the economic activity was standstill, traveling from China to all the countries on the entire globe. Now the question comes in, what exactly needs to be done? Yes, we are facing problem, but what is the idea, or what policy matters we are going to take in to cope up with these things? First of all, India needs to think upon strategic foreign trade policy matters. How far we'll stop uh, exporting goods and services from other countries? What would be the quantum of time or limit? What needs to be done? One thing. Second thing, India, if it's trying to cope up with its own economic activity, what is the role of fiscal policy? What exactly the RBI is doing? Whether we are in a position to just waive off all the loans when we know at the same time that we do have a problem of NPA, whether it's the right time to extend the moratorium on loan paying, whether the government by giving the bailouts, several packages to several industries, several sectors, MSME, is doing good enough job to promote the economic activity. Because at the bottom line, at the grassroots level, the question is to create more of output and more of employment. Whether the government has taken any decision on policy to take care of those laborers who have not registered, they are not registered anywhere else, whether in their own state or the state from to where they have migrated. What would be the wages that they would be getting? Are they getting the wages? What other policy matters? Again, what about those people who are not registered anywhere? How we are going to deal with them? Because it's the question of what the people at the bottom line, the middle class people or high class people, they would survive. What about the people with low level income? How would they, how they are going to deal with it? This is the problem. Another problem, if the government has come up with the containment areas, the zone wise definition, and the standard procedures of operation, is it really taking care of the economic productivity? Is it really taking care of economic activity? How far we have been successful? Because this problem of this virus, it's not, we can see that it's not going to end in a week or in a month. Every time when we wish that it's going up, we come to know that yes, the scale, it has gone up. The infected positive cases, just see your national positive cases, you see it's more than 14 lakhs. Just think, we never thought of it. And in our own state, you have your own data with the state. People, they are dying because there is pandemic. People, they are dying because there is no food to eat. Very basic thing. Because there is no one is trying to employ them. Why? Because everybody is in a state of panic. Everybody is state of precautionary. Everyone is in precautionary mood. Nobody is letting somebody in their house, in their what you say, working area. Why? Because people are infected. Once it's infected, we never know how many people would be infected. And what is happening? It is creating a problem on the health department. It's a very sorry affair of state in our country that we are not well equipped with the health facilities. Also that the insurance part, people, they really do not care to insure. Reason, very simple reason, more of them, they do not have enough of money to insure. Who will insure oneself? Who has the money and capacity to insure? And our health sector is the hardest hit sector. We do not have fully equipped things, medicines, we do not have vaccines, we do not have adequate numbers of doctors, we do not have good amount of say hospitals where the proper care should be taken for a uh, person who have been tested positive. We have also come, we are going across the affairs of this uh, what you say, uh, government hospitals and private hospitals. Who would go to the private hospital? Who has money? And other people, the people at the edges, the people vulnerable section of the society, they have to depend on the government policy, on the government hospitals. They have no other way. How are they going to survive? They all the measures that have been taken, they have brought the economy to a halt, to a standstill, where we see that there is a depression in the economy. Nobody is willing to invest money. Nobody is trying to create more of output. Reason being, simple reason, that some might may get infected with the virus. And what is happening? There is no demand in the economy. There is supply side bottleneck. Also, the countries are affected by the tightening of global financial condition, because there is no trade amongst the country. So what needs to be done? There is an important, the nation calls for important measures that could be taken on health issues. See, I started telling that what started with a health crisis has ended up with the global economic crisis. We never thought. We were just talking about that something went wrong in China, and therefore people are being, what you say, quarantined and all these things. Ultimately, it has come to us. Now the onus is on us, the government, the policy, the politics, the government, how to formulate efficient policy. It should be long time. It's, see, short time policy measures are very important, but a visionary long time policies are also required. Because we, if I'm talking, I'm only, although it was a global, I've tried to explain Indian perspective, because we need to know what's going in our economy, what is the pace of our economy. We are a developing nation, we are an agrarian based nation, agriculture based nation. We were facing a slowdown, recession since last 2 years, and suddenly in the middle of the recession, a virus broke up. We brought what, a depression in the economy. Therefore, what happened is, it has created a standstill in the economy. Though we are trying hard to cope up with the situation, we are trying to go hand in hand with the situation, but still the crisis continues. Therefore, it is very important for us to think about the policy of the government, the policy matter, the politics, the our role in coping with the entire situation. This is what I had to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for taking this session so patiently. Now, I will take a few questions relating to this topic one by one. At the very beginning, we have got question from Ms. Anindita Modok and Anindita Hajra. They are actually asking about the government, very recent government policies about vocal and local and Atmanirbhar Bharat, these two policies of central government. So they're asking how this will help to boost up the economy in this period.
See, whenever the question comes about policy matters, the policy, they have two major things when they are formulated. One is the intended objective, and one is the unintended objective. Here, the government with the Atmanirbhar Bharat says that the intended objective is to promote economic activity. That means promote output. Say, for example, if the government is going to give loan to a small unit, uh, uh, what you call a kutir udyog, small scale industry, fine. So if it is providing a small scale industry a small amount of money, with that particular amount of money, the person who is involved in producing thing will employ more of land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Just think the link. He cannot produce by himself the things. He needs to require a person, a kutir udyog, a small scale industry, Atmanirbhar Bharat industry, say for example textile, fine, jute bags, or anything that is to be produced. So you need to require labor. From where you are going to get labors? You will get the labors locally, You're not going to hire the laborers internationally. Locally, you will see the skilled laborers who can make those particular things. Once you are employing those laborers, what you are going to give them back the wages and salaries. Once the laborers, those who are unemployed people, they are getting wages and salary. That means they are having income. With that small income, whatever income, meager income, small income, they have the purchasing power. With this purchasing power, what they are doing, they are able to buy their basic necessity. Obviously, they are not going to buy an Audi, or they are going to buy the basic necessity. What do we require basically? We require food, clothing, and shelter. So the first idea is to provide an access, give an access to the vulnerable section of the society to their basic needs. And whenever you are talking about Ujjwala Yojana, if you are talking about Pradhan Mantri Gramin Swaswaraksha Yojana, any policy, they are going to get the income. From the income, though, they are going to get the opportunity, cash in hand, to buy goods and services. And if the policy is successful and there is no hitch in the policy implementation, see, this seems very rosy pictures of the policies, but at the implementation level there are lot many things. What is the hitch of the policy? If the person, he is going to avail the loan facility, whether the banks, they are cooperating to provide the same to the person or not, it is also very very important, because there are certain technicalities that create a hitch to the policy. It seems rosy, it's good attack, but we also need to see that they are working properly.
Next, Miss Moshumi Roy, she's asking about, is this crisis leads towards a new way of economic rethinking? Will it put the well-being of the society over individual success? And the next part, what she's asking about, that in future we should have budget for pandemic situation, especially. So, what is your take on that?
Yes, very, very. It's a very visionary question that Madam has asked. Yesterday only, I was just going through the lectures of Raghuram Rajan. What he said, that this pandemic is not an end. We need to think beyond that. Why? Because I had also mentioned right now here that this pandemic is going to lead India in another debt crisis. You see, right now the government has come up, the central government has come up with so many bailouts, much amount of money to the MSME, to the farmers, to the vendors, street vendors. From where, just think, from where the money is coming. Are we so sound enough to provide the money? At one point of time, we have stopped the economic activity. At the same point of time, we have used our precautionary money to propel the economy. So we need to think about what needs to be done. And we never thought, the world never thought that a condition would be such that we would be a witness to history. Therefore, we as citizens or the government should take pragmatic approach in formulating the policy, so that individual well-being as well as nation's well-being and the global well-being is taken into account.
Next question is from Mr. Rajiv Kumar Das. He has
Yeah.
three parts of the question. First is the world witnessing return of the welfare state? Next is, will the COVID-19 pandemic end globalization as we know it? And the last is, how has the COVID-19 pandemic changed the globalization perspective, which should be perspective of the world?
Okay. Now, answering to the first question, we are a welfare state. We know it very well. And the concept of welfare state came with the Great Depression of 1930s, when the economist John Maynard Keynes, he said that there is the invisible hand is defunct now. The role of the government should be very clear, and it should be in the market as and when required. I know you must have studied all these things. Fine. So, as and when required, all the countries right now are focusing on the welfare. We are a welfare state. when you see the preamble of the constitution, you'll start with the objective of the constitution is to provide what? Justice, social, economical, and political, isn't it? So it's very clear whatever policies and laws they are framed by the government, the concept of welfare is being taken. Now the idea is changing, whether it is new welfare where the corporate bodies are also have their own stake, because it's very different story. When we run the economy, there are so many stakeholders in the economy. They are at the front seat, they are also at the back of the stage, from where the money is coming. Okay, so when the policies are framed, particularly taking welfare policies, who is putting the money in the welfare policy is also a matter of concern. And obviously, once we are a welfare state, we focus on how to get optimum welfare, Pareto optimality. We are not talking about Hicks and Kaldor. We are talking about Pareto optimality, that resources should be distributed in such a manner that if there is reallocation of resources, no one is better off, no one is worse off. But that doesn't happen in reality. If I'm taking resources from one person, obviously the what you say, the satisfaction would go down. If I'm earning a lot, the tax incident on me would be more than a person who is earning a less. So it cannot be compared. We are a welfare state, and we have been making policies and laws taking into account a welfare state. Now you're talking about the globalization, the effect of pandemic and globalization. This is also a very, what you say, pragmatic question, that what exactly would be the trade policies or trade laws of the different countries regarding globalization. Once in 1991, when we India went for the LPG policy, what it did, it made flexible its laws and policies so that there would be more of entrepreneurships, there would be more of capital in India, and also that other country would invest more of money in India, taking India as what? A major economic country, sorry, a major country where economic prospect is more. Right now also we are discussing, once the China, what is the Indo-China trade war, sorry, US-China trade war, who would be the beneficiary, how India would cope up. So what are, simply one liner answer, what is the strategic law and policy that would decide the globalization?
Next
Thank
question is from Miss Meeta Das. She's asking that the poor people of our country is getting exploited and they're not getting proper rations in various
you.
parts of our country. And political parties are, blaming each other. So
Mm.
what should be the ideal methodology? Does the food security should be distributed in a proper way?
Ma'am, I would say that we had a food security bill. Okay, we had an act. Fine. It is also in the Human Right Convention that we need to lead with dignified manner, having an adequate amount access to adequate amount of food. Fine. Now here the role of PDS is very important, particularly talking about our country. We were facing a lot many problem in procurement, price set, and distributing the PDF, a public distribution system. So what the government was trying to do it initially, it was with many of the things which landed only with sugar, rice, and kerosene oil, fine, and wheat. Now the government, it has tried a lot by uh, uh, linking it with Aadhaar, linking with Jandhan Yojana, linking with biometrics. Initially, it was the shopkeeper who was taking advantage. Initially, it was the, what you said, the distributor who was taking advantage, and the poor people, the one, not sorry to say poor, vulnerable section of the society, they were not getting the beneficiary. The beneficiaries were not in good numbers, and they had complained. Right now, the government with this direct benefit transfer has come along, that A person who is going to have a ration card should have Aadhaar, and they are going to access their biometrics, and then they would be getting their what you say rations. Now there are problem. As I said policies, it has intended as well as unintended objective. Intended is to promote the welfare of the vulnerable section of the society. There are so many problems. This food distribution system was a right to food, right to education. I'm just naming some of them. Right to education. With right to education, we just coined and we added midday meal scheme. Why? Because every time we saw that there was a lacuna in the policy. So what needs to be done? So it's very difficult right now to say that this would be the ideal policy. Once the policy is implemented, there comes the real unintended objective. What is not required? Once it is implemented, then we come to know, and then the policy is reviewed or it is reworked by the government. And the other thing is that all the political parties, they have their own memorandum and agenda. They would say they take the policies, but they add on, keep on adding. We have the Google extension and add-ons. They add ons to the elementary policy, and when they implement, they come to know that no, this was not the intended objective. So it's very difficult to say that there would be an ideal policy.
Next, two of our participants have asked with their question relating to the artificial intelligence effect on the labor system. So, how is it putting impact in reducing the employment?
See,
matters?
right now, what happens, sir? We are right now, this COVID, it taught us so many things. Fine. It taught us how to conduct a webinar. It taught us how to take a virtual classes. So what we are doing right now, without, if it would had been a proper seminar, it would happen a proper setup. People would travel to that place. We would have proper registration. We would have proper fooding and lodging, everything. Right now, simply everybody is at their own comfort zone and they are accessing their whatever is required. Here, the problem is, if you are talking about the labor section, how many of them would have the registration of being a labor? This was the first question that came up after the COVID. Artificial intelligence, what data we are providing? Are we registered? All the laborers of these states, have they registered to the labor offices? Do we have data? Do we have their accounts? Do we have their names? No, we do not have. If I'm talking about artificial intelligence, I'm talking about whom? I'm talking about so-called intellectual people who use the online services. And where you are going to use that artificial intelligence to employ labor who just want to have a food security, only a food security. This was the major problem in Bihar, where people could not get back to their states because they have not registered in the labor office. There was no data at all related to them. And what come next to the problem? That they were staying at the borders and they were dying because of what? Not having an access to food. Just see right now also, just see to it. So if you're talking what is my 10 of years of experience in the university has taught me that we are not being visionary right now. We are only a short-term specific person. What right now? And this is the reason that we are facing problem. As I said, again, it will create a more problem for a country like us, India. We'll be in debt. There will be more supply of labor. और जहाँ ज़्यादा supply होगा, पैसे कम मिलेंगे, ज़्यादा लोग तैयार हैं काम करने के लिए. तो वहाँ question होगा survival of the fittest. And the less money also will try to work. So here, it's very difficult to say that artificial intelligence will create a problem. It will create a problem when we have registered ourselves. We have a database. We don't have a database right now.
Next question, Mr. Pritam Chakravarti has asked, we have already discussed about what government or the state should do for us. So he's asking what we should do to get the economic situation back to normal.
Okay.
We as a citizen.
No, very good, very good. household sector. We right now are a household sector. In the economy, there are four sector: household sector, business sector, government sector, and foreign sector. Household sector, we, people, household, families. ठीक है? Now, if I say right now, if the situation is a bit normal, what we'll do? We'll ask our domestic help to resume the work, isn't it? Fine. We in the state of panic, we had said please don't come, and we were also asked by the government, please do not cut off their salary, kindly pay.
Once again, we have got a question from Ms. Mita Das. She's asking ki, after the unlocked phase, we have witnessed that government has decided to reopen the liquor shops all across the country or in specific states. So, though we know it will boost up the revenue or the tax of the country. So, what is your take on that? Was it good or justified?
See, if as an economist I say, then it was justified. But if as a person I say, no, it was not justified. Because I've seen people waiting for this, when the shop are going to get opened. Fine. And the government, it gets maximum revenue from the liquor, excise duties, isn't it? And government cannot mint money. अगर ऐसा है कि पैसों की कमी हो गई है, and the government will ask, the Modi government will ask the governor to mint the money. It's not possible. We cannot mint the money. We have to take out money, pumping the money from different sector. जैसे मैंने आपको बोला, household sector से, business sector से, government sector से, and foreign sector से. So it was personally, as a personal front, no, it was not good, because people would stand in line, they'll consume liquor, they will spread the coronavirus. But economically, because the government had no money, it had no other option. And here in state of Jharkhand, I came to know there was online booking on the same. Fine. And people, they started booking, I don't know, it's a personal choice, but they were so happy to book online. And the government, it also had imposed 30% more taxes on it, but it had no other choice to get the revenue. So this was my answer. Thank you.
One is from Ms. Rimpade. She is asking, what do you think about no work, no pay system of private companies and suspension of temporary works by showing lame reason during this COVID situation?
As an economist, again, I'll explain. Reason is these private companies, they need to pay. Why they are paying it? Because they are using all the factors of production. Right now, they are themselves short of cash money. This is the problem. Therefore, they are laying off workers. उनके पास खुद ही पैसे नहीं है. It's not that all the companies and all the institution or firms, they have a locker, they keep the money. It's a transaction of money. Every day, money is coming, money is going out. So one source of their income is what? Cut down. So how they are going to just pay back the person who was employed? So what they're telling, I'll give you a real example. In Delhi, a very renowned school, a private school, it has laid off its 35 teachers who were working since last 30 years. When the principal of the school was asked by the government, it showed that the students, they are not able to pay the fee. Since they are students, they are not able to pay the fees, so the school authority is not able to pay the salaries to the teachers. Just think, this we don't understand. That is why the option of online teaching, it should be going. And right now the government has also come up with, for the schools and university, that they are going to pay for what? The tuition fee, bus fee, they are not going to take. Why? To maintain the liquidity in the economy. And if the companies are well settled, they must think about their employees. It is also a policy matter. They must think about their employees, so that to make them stay in the business, because these employees are the one who are going to add to the output of the companies. It's also the policy matter of the companies itself. Okay, thank you.
This is from Mr. KP Das. He's asking, why is our country is not competent enough to produce goods at a cheaper rate. What is restricting us?
See,
Exactly the point.
exactly the point is no country is self-sufficient. No country. वी आर अ लेबर इंटेंसिव कंट्री. हमारे यहाँ लेबर्स ज्यादा है. एग्जाम्पल मैं दूंगी एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर का, जहां डिस्गाइज्ड अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है. मीनिंग बाय स्मॉल पीस ऑफ लैंड where 2 laborers can work, there are 5 laborers working. What is happening? The wage rate is going down. मुझे 2 की ही जरूरत है, 4 को लगा रखा है. I'll give them very minimum amount. Okay, I'll also employ. What is happening? The productivity is not increasing. The productivity is not increasing. That means output is not increasing, or output is not increasing. Therefore, we are not adding to the employment. Output बढ़ेगा अगर किसी कंपनी का ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन होगा, एग्रीकल्चर का ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन होगा, तो ज्यादा लेबर्स लगेंगे. ज्यादा लेबर्स लगेंगे तो हम हायर रेट पे, हायर वेजेस रेट पे भी लोगों को एम्प्लॉय करेंगे. बट यहाँ द प्रॉब्लम इज लेबर इज मोर एंड लैंड इज लेस. लेबर इज मोर, कैपिटल, financial security is less. Therefore, we face problem. It's not a problem of India. It's problem of all the countries. Why? Therefore, we are having international trade. कि सारे countries सब कुछ produce नहीं कर सकते हैं. Germany dies and motors में, say for example, cars में it's taking the world economy. China manufacturing में, तो India agriculture में. No country is self-sufficient, and we will have to. It's nature's policy. It's thumb rule. No country is self-sufficient, and therefore the only way left out is to have international trade. और इसी international trade की वजह से ये कोरोना वायरस का क्या हो गया है? Global economic depression का situation, because we are all related. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking all the questions raised by our participants so patiently and explaining all these things so delightfully. Now I will request our Honorable TIC ma'am to come and place her vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mom. The session was really very enriching, I must say first, because I am not a person of core economics, but the session is very interesting. I hope all the participants would expect that the session will go on for another time. It's not for any of us. It's really a very enriching and interesting session. I must thank you for that on behalf of my college authority, on behalf of my academic committee, on behalf of all the faculties and students, and above all, from all the participants. I thank you from the core of my heart to again to become the resource persons of our webinar and deliver such an enriching session. So thank you very much all, and ma'am, thank you again for virtually coming to our academic platform.
Thank you all of you for patiently hearing. Indeed, a person from not the economic background, they find it very difficult and boring too, I must say.
Ma'am, your scholastic presence binding us all. It's
Absolutely,
really,
absolutely.
It's very, very.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Bengal Law College, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much for coming to address our participants. Thank you for joining us.